This is From Destruction to Dignity with Janice Pons. Each week, Janice shares her wisdom to enlighten, educate, and advance the culture in America today. Janice Pons is a mother, author, and free thinker, and your host for our podcast this evening. Now let's join your host, Janice Pons.
Greetings, greetings, greetings. Come on in. Welcome, welcome, welcome. My name is Janice Pons. I'm the host on our podcast, From Destruction to Dignity, Clinical Perspective, Spiritual Truths. Guys, we're going to keep dissecting things. It's going to get heated up. You know it is. And we're going to continue to pray for one another. We got a flag behind us to remind us of our constitutional republic of the United States of America, where we, the people, dwell. And we're trying to just be the best we can be. And so we got to know the truth. And then we've got our presidential seal. I always have it up here to remind us to pray for the president, his cabinet, his family, their families. We need to keep those on Capitol Hill lifted up. Everybody. So we want all Americans to do well. But there are challenges. And part of doing well is knowing the truth. And so, guys, everybody know it has been, out of all the presidents that I've ever seen, I've never seen one that has been as targeted. There was so much targeting of orchestrated lawfare related to him. And so tonight we're going to examine something that's generated a lot of discussion. It's always being talked about, and it's about the focus to destroy him. Why was there such a focus to destroy President Trump? The others didn't have that focus to literally destroy him. People talk trash about him and, say things and stuff on social media. But in terms of the actual destruction of a person, we've never seen, y'all, come on, be intellectually honest. You've never seen anything like what was targeted with him. So all this is, women, people coming out the woodwork, and we know the 2 attempts on his life, and it's just the orchestrated lawfare, and the ones that were even orchestrating it, they were doing a sinister things themselves, the Fannie Willises and all the ones. I mean, I could go on and on. I don't want to get into all that. That's not what this is about. We're going to focus with specificity, understand these dynamics related to this imperfect man. And this is all going to connect with our clinical perspective, which is mental freedom. Mental freedom. So let's dive in. Things are going to heat up. They are. The focus is to make this man look like an utter fool, for him to have always been a fool, and for him to be an absolute buffoon. So anyone who has been paying attention knows why the globalist cabal has been deathly afraid of President Trump for the last, let's say, 10 years. Yeah, he presented a dynamic that disrupted their plan. It's why Obama tried to use the Russian hoax to derail. He was behind all that. That's already come out. The Obama, was behind the orchestration of the Russian hoax to do what? To derail Trump's presidency. That's what it was about before it began. It's why Biden tried to use lawfare to prevent a second term for President Trump. It's why the deep state stalled his first administration and impeached him twice in his first term. It's why the GOP establishment intentionally tanked the 2018 midterms. Guys, it's a lot that both sides want to keep covered up. A lot. World events under President Trump 2.0, let's say President Trump 2.0 since 2024, is what they feared and why they pushed to stack his cabinet with traitors the first time. During his first time, it was so much going on that first time. And then we had C-19 that was loosed on us. This is what, and then he's standing up there trying to figure it out. It was, guys, they didn't care. About a million Americans lost their lives. It was part of a script. Let me keep moving. The globalists are sinister in many ways. World events under Trump 2.0 is what they feared would happen, like the peace treaties and him holding Venezuela accountable and release the 800 pastors and what's going on in Iran, the dynamics of all of that, which is the number one sponsor of terrorism in the world, in Iran. There's a lot that's got to come to a resolve, and I believe it will. This is why we pray. World events under him totally disrupted what they had planned. This is why the entire Democratic Party and certain people on the right counter message everything coming out of his administration. It's why they are melting down daily. Donald Trump is changing the country and the world. Really, the things that he wants peace, but yes, what went on in Iran, but they were the number one sponsors of terrorism in the world. He had broken all those 9 peace treaties and had all of these dynamics of partnership going on. They don't want the economic success that will come to America through what he was doing through the United Arab Emirates and all these trillions of dollars that they were investing. And a lot of these manufacturing deals are coming forth, but they don't want that to happen. He's changing the country, guys, and the world for the betterment of the people. He's proving that we don't have to live the way liberal globalists and their media harlots tell us that we must live. He was shining a light on unfixable problems that it turns out could be easily fixed. They have no defense for that truth. See, it can be easily fixed. And like the border, he just went there and fixed it. We went 6 straight months with zero people coming across the border into our nation in 2025. Turns out the border always could have been secured in days. If they wanted to do it, you got Mexico's president on her side taking care of that part. Turns out, yes, we can deport illegals if they wanted to do it. Illegal? We could have done it. Turns out that we don't have to live with mass migration if they wanted to stop it. Guys, it was all about getting these people in here. Can you imagine 2023 going into 2024, they had 10,000. 10,000 coming in one day, willfully orchestrated. That's asinine, but that was what the Obama-Biden-Harris cabal did to us. And that's what Donald Trump walked into. So why do they want to destroy him? Turns out, we don't have to pay for the world's research and development cost for prescription drugs if they cared about our welfare. See, we were footing the bill on so much, guys. Turns out that we can manufacture our own stuff over here if we want to. Turns out that we have plenty of energy. We don't need to import much at all. If we don't want to, why? We got it over here, baby. And we got it off our coast. Turns out that we can require companies to not put poison into our food if we didn't want them to do it. Look at what Robert Kennedy has done. Wow. Turns out that we don't need to tolerate crime. Turns out that we don't let private equity firms destroy good companies. Turns out that we have to allow widespread, it turns out that we can challenge the widespread fraud in welfare programs. Turns out we don't have to tolerate it if we don't want to. But the Democratic Party wanted to. They knew about it. Obama was responsible for the Obama-Biden-Harris cabal willfully was dropping these people off in communities. They even dropped them off in communities and they were COVID positive back during the COVID years. And we were trying to figure out what was going on. You had 1 million Americans die. They didn't care that those people came over here. It was part of the gig. Turns out, oh, guys, do you see what's been going on? It turns out that we don't have to fear terror-loving countries plunging the world into a dark age if we have goals that we've set. Turns out we look, okay, wow. As a result of President Trump being in there, all these things that it turns out to be the truth of the matter is because of what he did. Turns out we don't have to allow other countries to rip us off in trade if they cared about America and Americans. And he does. Guys, it turns out we don't have to bend to insane wokeness to protect minority rights. We don't have to bend to 1,000 white people being taken out of the employment pool overnight by Pete Buttigieg because they were white, but they had finished the training, the education and the training to be air traffic controllers. They didn't care that it was chaos going on in our airports all over the country. 1,000 of them were ready to be hired. Just take them right out because we got to fulfill DEI. And look what happened in our airports. My God. Turns out that we don't have to let those who've appeared to be mentally ill men think they can ramrod and take over what has historically been women's institutions, beating them to pulps, winning all the trophies in their division. Guys, if y'all want to compete against each other, get your own league. But get out of our women's league. Turns out that the ones that were biological men who were in the showers, that's what Biden did overnight. Just something, all they got to do is announce that they're a woman and they were in the shower with our women in the military. Those women were petrified, traumatized. Turns out we didn't have to do that. President Trump stopped it. Turns out that the elimination of DEI from our armed forces ethos results in a more lethal military. What does ethos mean? It's a Greek word for character, referring to the guiding beliefs, values, or spirit that define a person, a group, or institution. Guys, our military is supposed to be strong. It's not there to carry out some experiments and I know people that were going in there to specifically get the transition surgery, and it turns out that for up to 18 months they weren't war ready. They had to heal. They had to go through all kind of processes. Guys, it's an appeal. In rhetoric, it's an appeal based on the credibility, authority, or moral character of a group, ethos. And our military is supposed to be driven by that, but it wasn't. It became a ground of experimentation. Our military is not supposed to be that. Turns out we can make it what it was supposed to be. Now you know why they feared Trump. You get it? You got people that want to make him out to be a buffoon and a fool. But it turns out that he addressed all those things I just specified. They feared him. They feared he'd expose the truth. And he has. And that we'd stop believing the lies. And we have. Making the globalists more powerful and wealthier. That's the goal. That's what they were doing all along. The truth was out there all along, guys, and now we know it. Why do we know it? Because who's in charge? The imperfect Donald John Trump has been responsible for all of these things coming to the forefront, guys. He just has. The type of fortitude that President Trump has had to have requires a degree of mental freedom that's at another level. That man's got to be strong mentally based upon what they were doing. Let's examine that. Mental freedom from the aspects of our clinical perspective. What does that mean? Mental freedom. What's that all about? Why would we need it? Who is it? Mental freedom is the ability to walk in strength and fortitude, resolve, not caring what people think about you. That man, that mental freedom is going in, having leadership with backbone and say, you know what? I'm getting ready to call a spade, and I'm going to shut this down. I'm going to make these adjustments. I'm going to make tough decisions, because if it leads to the safety of an entire nation, you know what? It's like it is what it is. And so it may put the leader, the person, it put President Trump certainly in a position where it was like, is he nuts? Why? He stopped their gravy train so he couldn't get bogged down with what they were saying about him. So yes, they orchestrated lawfare. He's about the only one that could have fought the all of that mess financially. It takes mental freedom to stand under that kind of pressure. To know that he was called for such a time as this. Why? To expose all this mess that's been going on that was stealing from us at a minimum of what was going on in Minnesota. Guys, that takes mental freedom. It takes mental freedom to say, no, we're not doing that anymore in the military. We're not doing that. It takes mental freedom to say, no, you're not going to mutilate our children. We're not going to do it. We're not doing that. And it's unpopular. You got a whole flow that says, well, that's what we want to do. Those are our rights. Well, wait a minute. You want us to pay for it? If you want that, baby, you go ahead and pay for it. But not on the taxpayer's dime. It takes mental freedom. Guys, we were all over the place. But President Trump, why? Why was there an effort to focus on destroying him? Because of everything that I've said tonight. Why did that man have to have mental freedom? You've got to have a strong mind. You know, part of my confession that I speak over him and all of us, because this is what the word says, and this is our spiritual truth. That man has the mind of Christ and the wisdom of God. And greater is he that is in him than he that is in this wicked world that tried to take him out, that was trying to take us out. They didn't care that 1 million Americans succumbed to COVID. They brought those people in, illegal people in, and dropped them off in our communities. Do you think they cared about us? Guys, that stuff was willfully done. I'm going to say it once. If I say it once, I'll say it again. They were paroling people out of prison in Haiti, Cuba, Nicaragua, and Venezuela. We had Venezuelan gangs taking over our apartment buildings in Arizona. Do you hear me? Guys, it was a mess. So why do you think they tried to orchestrate all of this against Donald John Trump? Because he came in and said, I love America, and America's going to be first, and Americans are going to be first. So what did he do? July 4th, he said, part of what we're going to do in this big, beautiful bill, and it's already been paid for, the Trump accounts, to change the course of our posterity, that they are being set up for success. Guys, that's powerful stuff, where at the age of 18, they can use the money to pay on their education to college or trade school, or to put a down payment on a house or to start a business. Never, ever has that been done. I've seen 13 different presidents, never seen one do it. Why did they want to destroy Donald John Trump? The Democratic Party we were slaves to them. Always have been and always will be. The way they got this thing set up in our country, you got to work. But you know what? You can become an entrepreneur. Kevin Hearn said something. I was at a breakfast with him not too long ago. He had 24 McDonald's. He sold them all, but he said he still had businesses. He said something that arrested my attention, and I loved it. He said this. He's running for senator. He said this. He said, I always want to be a businessman, remain a businessman, because it keeps me in touch with the working man. It keeps me in touch with what you have to do to stay on top of things to make it successful. I love that. I want to know what he knows. We need leaders like that can teach it to our posterity. And that's what Trump, people say, well, he filed bankruptcy. Well, you know what that tells me? That he kept trying. He kept trying. So now he's a billionaire. So you can say what you want to say, but they tried to destroy that man. And he's the only one that could have financially fought him back. And how I applaud him for everybody that he has sued, and he's winning those lawsuits for what they did to him. Guys, they tried to destroy the man. But you know what? He's got mental freedom in many ways. So I pray that his mind stays strong. I pray that our minds stay strong. I pray that he has the wisdom of God. I pray that he has the mind of Christ and the wisdom of God, and I pray for it for us all to have it. And that's not me just saying, oh, why she say that? That's what the word says. That's our spiritual truth. And so, see, our mind gets attacked. So when you don't have mental freedom and you're all caught up in all this, say, I've become more fortified in setting up boundaries. Because when you don't set up boundaries, you won't have mental freedom and you get snatched around like a rag doll. And we're surrounded by people that is the case for them. But there's a better way. And so we have to gird up the loins of our minds. We have to be transformed and changed. How? By the renewing of the mind. Why? That we may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of God. Do you understand me? See, we've been in spiritual warfare. But if you have mental freedom, if you have that spiritual freedom, and you have to ground it in spiritual principles, and I pray that over us as a nation. I pray that over our president. I pray that over his cabinet. Guys, we were all over the place, but there's a better way. It's just a better way. And so I want him to be successful, because if he's successful, it's a blessing to us. And so we're going to keep dissecting these things, because we are one nation under God. We're under God. We're under God. We're indivisible. God's the idea. His plan is for us to be indivisible, flowing together as one. That's what forming a more perfect union means. And there's an attack against that. And it's been specifically perpetrated upon our president to destroy him, take his life literally out. I've never seen one man that's so lied on in all my life. But it's coming out. And so I'll come over here and dissect these things, and I'm going to keep doing it, because we're going somewhere. And it's expecting us when we get there. God wants us to have mental freedom, and he wants us to be protected, starting with our president, his family, his cabinet. I want everybody in this nation. I don't give really 2 cents about political parties. I want us all to thrive. For me, it's not even about Democrat and Republican, but I take each platform and line it up with spiritual principles, and that's the one I'm going to line up with. And I'm not lining up with one that's going to perpetrate and promote the mutilation of our children and women being second class and anybody can go in the shower with them. No, guys, no. That's not how it works. I want our military to be strong. I want us to do well. I want us all to do well as we continue to go together from destruction to dignity, clinical perspectives, spiritual truths. Guys, Let's keep dissecting these things because we need to get understanding. Remember, wisdom is the principal thing. Therefore, get wisdom. But in all our getting, we're going to get some understanding. I will see you next week. Good night.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of From Destruction to Dignity with Janice Pons. Janice's mission is to provoke thought, bring awareness, and point people towards intervention when needed. As a reminder, this show is not therapy, but for educational purposes only. For more information, check out JanicePons.com or follow her on social media.
We are one power, strength is ours, liberty, been set free, education, affirmation, dedication.